My name is Dr. Surabhi Sahai. I'm the CEO of Clat Possible and I'm sitting here with Rishabh Shivani, AIR1 Clat. So Rishabh, just tell us about yourself. Which school did you go to? What did you study in school?
So hi everyone, I'm Rishabh Shivani. I'm from Delhi. I was a student of Amity International School, Mayur Vihar, and I completed my schooling there.
So how did you choose law as a career option? I mean, why law schools?
So I participated in a lot of Model United Nations, a lot of debates in general in school, and there I found my passion for debating, and I read about laws. I talked to people who attempted Clat, and there I thought that okay, this can be a viable career option because I was interested in law and debating in general.
So are there any lawyers at home? Anyone in the field of law?
No, I'm a first generation lawyer.
That's really nice. We at Clat Possible see a lot of first generation lawyers, and in fact many of my students are doing so well in the field of law, including my own sister who went to NLU Delhi, and we don't have any lawyers in the family. So I'm sure you're going to continue that tradition. So Rishabh, the Clat paper pattern changed in 20. I remember taking that session with all my students, and it was in the middle of the pandemic. There was so much of uncertainty, and we were all and on top of that this new paper pattern was supposed to happen, and there was a lot of focus on reading, on logic, and the whole traditional paper that asked you stagnant questions on vocabulary, and they all were supposed to not happen. So let's take it one by one. What are the steps that you took for English, for example? Are you a reader, or did you start reading after you decided to do Clat?
So I had started reading by the age of 10 or 11. I read a lot of books, fictional books in general, but after Clat I read a lot of non-fiction books, and I found my passion for non-fiction books there. So for reading comprehension, I think it was not, comprehension in itself was not much of a difficulty, but speed reading, like reading the passage and understanding it whole in just 2 or 3 minutes, that was the real challenge. Then that I think it came from practice and all that, by reading newspaper editorials and all that. So that really helped in improving my speed and just improving comprehension in general.
What about GK? Like your GK also continued to keep the tradition in Clat that it can just go anywhere. So what about GK? How did you go about preparing for GK?
So I think for GK I just read the newspapers, I identified topics from that, and I researched in depth about that. So if anything the 2020 paper just taught us, it was that we need to research about topics, we need to know about those topics in depth. However, 2021 just changed that fact, and it was purely factual in nature. So after that it became that okay, we have to do both these things. We have to learn about, let's say if it's a geopolitical topic, let's say Russia Ukraine, we need to know the factual scenario and the geopolitical scenario, or let's say the more subjective part of the topic. So we needed to prepare both of that, and though they did not ask much of the subjective part, it still just helped in getting a better idea. It just helped in, let's say if you do not know the question, you can still guess the answer based on a general sense of the topic as a whole.
So it's funny, the Ukraine-Russia, we took 2 sessions. In GK Perfect, we covered it in 2 volumes, and all my students come back to me and tell me, you made us do so much of Ukraine-Russia. But I think what Rishabh is trying to say is that knowing a topic gives you the confidence of answering questions, even if they come, out of nowhere, because you know the topic and it helps you do a good academic guess rather than just a pure guesswork scenario. And what about reasoning? Reasoning has been a nemesis for many students, and it takes time to learn. Logic is not something that comes easily. We can see it around us, there is no logic around us many times. So what about logic and reasoning?
So for logic, when I just started solving GMAT based questions so that I can just understand the concept. But then, though this might be a controversial opinion, I got to know there is no concept, it's just plain logic, and if you just understand what he's trying to say, there's just 2-3 basic points you need to know, and then you can understand about that. For example, if there's, let's say, an argument that because other countries are doing something, we need to do something, then that is not a strong argument.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, so that is something which you may not know, which you may think it alright, it's a strong argument, but you may know from practicing questions and all that. So after just solving those questions, getting right, just seeing where I went wrong, and because in GMAT question there is no scope for error, you can easily get 95% accuracy. So that really helped me in just getting to know how to eliminate the questions and how to understand basic arguments in general.
Yeah.
So I think that really helped.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, we have 1,000 bank of questions from GMAT, from which we also teach our fundamentals to the students. And you are right. There is some logic there which you have picked up through practice, but yes, in the classrooms I teach logic, so I take this up one by one and tell them what is correct, what is considered strong, what is not considered strong. But we stress a lot on practice, so I think you would also agree, practice and redoing the questions to come to the point.
Yeah. So even like practicing mocks, so giving, let's say, CR sectional tests, just solving GMAT questions and all that. So that can, that can do two things. First, you can get acquainted with the concept, or let's say what is an inference, what is a strong or a weak argument. Secondly, because you are reading things, you are just getting a broader horizon. You are able to comprehend things that you do not know. For example, if you are solving, let's say, GMAT comprehension based passage, there's, let's say, the passage talking about some 1930 artist, Frida Kahlo and all that. So you can, just if let's say they do give an abstract passage in Clat, which they did, you can easily be able to comprehend that. You won't be like, okay, your mind won't be blocked basically.
Yeah, it helps you with eclectic reading. I think that's what he's trying to say. You can read about so many subjects when you are solving lots of mocks, for example, because in order to give you a passage, we go over subjects in economics, politics, and you can read all those subjects together, which otherwise in your regular life you may not probably get the chance to read at all. So that's a bedrock. What about so you have been a test series student with us. What was it? How do you attempt your mock? Do you attempt it? Do you re-attempt it? How do you analyze it? Just give a brief this thing to the students, because many students are confused about mock analysis.
Yeah. So let's say for attempting mocks in general, I basically stick to an order of mine, and then I solve the mocks on that basis. However, if things did not work, let's say there's a phase of stagnation, that my scores have reached the plateau, they are not improving, then I can change things and see alright what happened. And that did happen. I had reached the score of 105, 110. I was not able to improve on that. Then I changed my order. That really helped with comprehension, because if you do, let's say, a reading based section at the end, your energy is drained and you won't be able to. But if you do it at the beginning, you may able to score more. So that really helped. And as for mock analysis, I think just seeing where you went wrong. Let's say if you read the mock analysis, sometimes they give a summary of the passage in general, and then we move to the question. So if you see that there's a problem in my comprehension, right? For example, let's say there's something that the author said and you thought, some person has said it, then that's why you got the question wrong. So then that can help. So basically just see where you made mistakes and why you made them, and just make it a point to not repeat them again. That would be the main takeaway from mock analysis.
How did you, and just one last question, do you think that CP mocks benefited you, and you were able to do what you have done wonders in the paper?
Yeah, so I think the Clat possible mocks were really aligned with the actual Clat paper in terms of how the paper was in general. Like, let's say maths based on caselets and all that was asked in the paper. Like for legal, it was mostly based on normal topics, though they did give some international law passages, but still they were easy to tackle. Similarly, for English, even the CP mocks gave us passages which were too abstract in nature. They were not entirely editorial based, and that really helped in the English section, because a lot of aspirants, they panicked when they saw that what are these passages based on too abstract topics.
Because in 2021, in fact even in 20, when they gave the sample papers, they just took it from newspaper editorials.
Exactly.
And they did not, I think most candidates were expecting newspaper editorials, but that somehow did not happen in 2022.
Yeah. So the mocks in general basically, refined me as a candidate, because they, just helped me improve every section of mine in such a way, because what happened with me was, after some point I was above average in all sections, average or above average, so I was not exceptional in one section. However, with that, after I started attempting the mocks, that changed, because my reading sections, which were my strengths earlier, and then they downgraded a bit, they again became my strength. And because I was good in maths, the only thing I had to work upon was GK, which naturally I made my own notes, I solved mocks, I gave sectional tests and all that, so that eventually helped, and I was able to convert that in the paper.
Thank you so much, Rishabh. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you all the best for your journey forward, because it has only just begun. Now you have a new war, a new battleground in your college, and I hope you emerge at the end of it as a successful candidate, a successful lawyer, or whatever else you may want to pursue later on in life.
Thank you.